Now, nevertheless, there has been an evolution since 2010. The IGF clearly has evolved and matured. There is now an IGF community. Participants are more comfortable also to address delicate issues. For instance, surveillance was addressed in 2013 in the Bali meeting, and it was the first meeting the United States of America actually openly talked about this issue in an international conference. And also the IGF has developed intersessional activities. There are the best practice forums that have started in 2014. There are thematic streams such as Connecting the Next Billion and the dynamic coalitions that have been with the IGF since the beginning now also work together to show what they have been doing. And of course, all the national and regional IGFs, they are a very important part of the whole picture. So the preliminary conclusion, the first 10 years confirmed the value, and it is a win-win situation for all stakeholders that you can learn and you can shape developments. Now we have a new mandate, and that new mandate is for 10 years, from 2015 till 2025. This obviously is of great importance as it gives more space to the IGF. It allows it also to develop multi-year work programs. It is easier to approach donors to secure funding, as we now have a well-established 10-year lifespan ahead of us. There was a retreat called by the United Nations just 2 weeks ago in Glen Cove near New York. There was a nomination process. Stakeholders could nominate representatives, and a few people were also invited due to their personal connection. I had the pleasure of being part of the group. And the report is now available on the IGF website, and stakeholders are invited to comment. There will be an official public consultation, and it confirmed very much the general thrust of what was in the CSTD working group. And there is clearly appetite to move towards more intersessional activities and a multi-year work program, and also there is a need to closer link the IGF to other relevant organizations. And since the setting up of the IGF, now we also have the Sustainable Development Goals, and the community feels the IGF should be closer aligned to that. The retreat also made the distinction, while we all understand what the tangible outputs are, and there have always been some, such as a chairman's summary, and now we have reports of best practice forums and the reports of Connecting the Next Billion. But we should not overlook that there have also been intangible outputs. That is education, that you can inform yourself. There were people who went to sessions on internet exchange points and went home and set up an internet exchange point. That's part of capacity building, networking, marketing. All these intangible outputs are equally important. Now, the role of the IGF, again, it's important to recall that while it has no decision-making power, but it has decision-shaping power. It can shape the decisions of those who have the power to change the internet. Now, IGF, beyond 2025, will there be a need to go beyond that? Will all the issues the IGF is dealing with have been solved by then? Or will there be a need for a new super internet organization with decision-making powers? Maybe not. I don't think that there will be any agreement to set up a new organization with strong powers, as there are existing organizations for all of these issues, but there is a need for having an interaction, and the IGF has provided that platform. And one thing we know for sure, the internet in 10 years' time will not be the same anymore, as the internet is not the same now as it was 10 years ago. So My humble prediction is that there will be a continued need for multi-stakeholder dialogue, be that in the IGF or on a different platform. And ultimately, these discussions about the future of the IGF are part of the debate of what kind of internet we want. Do we want an internet that is open, global, and interoperable, based on innovation without permission? These are some of the basic tenets. That means also, I think, what Windsurf alluded to in his video message. Do we accept the risks that come with an open internet, or do we want an internet that is above all secure and respects national borders? And with that question, I thank you for your attention, and I think I kept more or less to my time limit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir, to Mr. Markus Kummer. Thank you for your sharing. Please be seated. And that is the future of internet from our keynote 1. And moving on, keynote 2, the theme of which is Internet for Everyone, Asia Digital Leadership and the Importance of the Multi-Stakeholder Model. Please welcome our keynote speaker, Ms. Susan Pointer, Head of the Public Policy and Government Relations, Asia Pacific Google Inc. She's the Senior Director and leads the company's Public Policy and Government Relations for Asia Pacific. And before Google, she was Head of the International Public Policy for global e-commerce company Amazon.com. Please join me in welcoming once again, Ms. Susan Pointer.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the introduction. I'm very conscious that I sit between this forum and the vibrancy of the working groups, and I'm sure you're all very keen to get to those. I come here, as was said, in my Google capacity, but also I've worked in a national parliament, in a regional parliament, for industry associations, and for various companies in the private sector. So I have a huge amount of respect for the diversity of expertise and the roles and the responsibilities that you have here in the room today. It's a real honor to be here in Taipei today, and thank you for the introduction to address the room. A room that brings together such a rich cross-section of the voices of the internet in Asia and from around the world, and with more people I know joining us remotely by the very same wonders of that technology. No doubt, we come from many different countries, cultures, experiences, and backgrounds, but also I believe we all share a common passion for and interest in the future of the internet, an internet for all and an internet for good. This is, I believe, the 7th gathering of the Regional Asia-Pacific Internet Governance Forum, and I think that's a tribute in itself to the importance and value of this event and of all the discussion that takes place in and around this forum. And I emphasize whether that discussion takes place in panels, on this stage, or more socially around the edges. We believe very strongly at Google in the concept of expertise and knowledge at the edges, and by implication, the inevitable limits of over-centralization and formalization, and so have always appreciated the IGF's approach, and in that sense, both the formal and informal debates that will no doubt take place here in Taipei this week. This notion, as was mentioned earlier, of distributed expertise. Indeed, it was this same combination of decentralization combined with togetherness that made the internet what it is today and that continue to shape its path and its direction of travel. As everyone in this room will know, the internet has been built from the bottom up and built upon by many contributors. It is developers, civil society, technologists from governments and private sector, businesses of all sizes, and most importantly, the billions of users who have created and developed the web as we know it. Evolutionary or revolutionary, either way, it's not an exaggeration to say that the internet has fundamentally changed the world and is continuing to do so. It's reshaping economies and societies, and at core, bringing information about everything to everyone with access, and allowing those same people with access to contribute to that same global knowledge platform and that creativity resource. And when I say many people, obviously there's still a lot more to do to ensure that access is something that is available to all. And we all in this room have a very important role to play in that. Mobile internet, as my colleague Vint Cerf mentioned, is a key enabler to this. And there is a lot of work going on globally to experiment with alternative means of providing connectivity. Let's take a moment to look at the impact of the internet in Asia. I'm based in Hong Kong. I've been in Asia for the last 3.5 years. In Asia, we see very clearly the transformative power of the internet, and increasingly Asia is leading the way in which the internet is being used across the world, particularly in mobile use and use cases. This is an area where the region is setting new trends for the world. I've lived across Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and as I said, more recently in Asia Pacific. And APAC is a great example of how rapidly the internet is expanding and impacting, and hopefully for good, the lives of people across the region and elsewhere. There's no doubt in my mind that the internet's global center is moving east and south. Asia Pacific is driving not only a mobile-first region, but in many cases a mobile-only region. More people are coming online for the first time in Asia than anywhere else, and they are doing it through a mobile device. For these billions of people, a smartphone isn't a phone, it's their first and only computer, a key point of access to information, knowledge, and culture for consumers, and an office for a new generation of entrepreneurs. Indeed, in many Asian countries, mobile is the only connected device users may have. Incumbent technologies and ways of thinking, typically based around a Western desktop model, are less likely to determine today's parameters here, let alone those of the future. Recent research by Oxford Economics shows that by 2020, the mobile internet will contribute around $580 billion to GDP and lead to the creation of 1 million new jobs in Southeast Asia alone. This is very much an Asian-led mobile-first revolution. Each year, we do a survey of how people use the internet around the world. It's called the Consumer Barometer. The latest report shows that in 2015, Asia widened its lead over the rest of the world as a mobile-first region. In fact, this region has 5 of the top 10 countries in the world when it comes to smartphone adoption, including Singapore, South Korea, Hong Kong. Furthermore, 11 of the 21 markets in the world where smartphone adoption is higher than PC adoption are located in Asia, including Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong. The survey also found that Malaysia has the highest use of messaging apps in the world, Singapore the second highest smartphone adoption, Korea has the highest rates of video watching on mobile, India and Japan became mobile-first search countries in 2013. Even 2 years later, only 8 other countries around the world have achieved the same thing. The mobile internet is transforming lives and equipping people with the means to participate in the direction this takes. So who are these netizens in Asia? An Indonesian farmer that uses the internet to check crop prices. An Indian entrepreneur that operates a software company serving people around the world. A Taiwanese restaurateur who depends on the web for online reservations and a full house. A group of individuals in India who created Safe City, a non-profit platform to crowdsource personal, anonymized stories of sexual harassment and abuse in public places, to break taboos and raise safety standards and awareness. On this 7th gathering, let me mention briefly 7 more examples of such internet-based vibrancy here in Asia Pacific. Daily lives changed and enhanced as a result of connectivity and information. There's Dia Young, an Indonesian entrepreneur, and these are real cases, people we know. There's Dia Young, an Indonesian entrepreneur, selling fashionable jihad headscarves online. She started a small business in 2011 and now has the largest Indonesian Muslim fashion e-commerce site. Her site and YouTube channel are visited by hundreds of thousands of people across Southeast Asia, Africa, Arab Emirates, and beyond. Dia Young has used the internet to build financial independence and take Indonesia's fashion to the world. Or B, a young Vietnamese tailor operating out of a market stall in Hoi An. She uses WhatsApp to send customers images of new materials and designs. Thanks to the internet, she is now a global exporter with clients in Germany, Australia, and New Zealand. Take Indian cooking enthusiast Yaman Agarwal, started his video channel, Cooking Shooking, 2 years ago. At the age of 14, he now has thousands of subscribers and millions of views from around the world. This has also given him a voice, a media voice in India. My 4th example, Muslim Pro, an app created by a small Singapore startup 4 years ago, provides accurate prayer times based on the user's location and helps people find the direction of Mecca from wherever they are. This app has been downloaded more than 10 million times across more than 200 countries and translated into more than 15 languages. Technology can be a creative force, an integral part of culture formation in the 21st century, whether as a global export vehicle for pop culture, take Korea's K-pop, or as a tool to broaden awareness of centuries of offline cultural heritage among digital natives, or as a platform for today's expression and individuality. My 5th example, the Asian Civilizations Museum in Singapore, launched their mobile app 5 years ago, then the world's first museum app that combined augmented reality, location-based gaming, and interactive features to promote closer interaction between visitors and historic items. As a result, the museum was able to attract younger visitors and shake up perceptions by bringing this rich cultural heritage to young, mobile-attached fingertips in lively ways. The web has enormous power for dismantling social and physical barriers to content. And this region has extremely rich cultural heritage to share with the world. My 6th example, Digital Green, an Indian organization that uses a video hub to scale agricultural training. They partner with a variety of organizations and stakeholders to share knowledge on improved agricultural practices, as well as health and nutrition, and they use locally produced videos to do this. This approach was found to be 10 times more cost-effective, and the uptake of best practices 7 times higher compared with traditional services. Since their founding in 2008, as of June this year, they have reached over 1 million individuals across more than 13,000 villages in India, but also in parts of Africa. And they've used over 4,000 videos, online videos, to do this. And finally, my 7th example of this local, but simultaneously global, real-world, people-centric power of the internet. A mobile app in Australia called Ask Izzy was built for homeless people to connect them with shelter, food, and other essential services. This sounds astonishing, but on any given night in Australia, I'm told that some 1 in 200 people are homeless. Even more astonishing, perhaps, is that 80% of those individuals have a smartphone, usually prepay phones with no credit but used in free Wi-Fi public locations. An organization, Info Exchange, created an app that gives these individuals information about more than 350,000 vital nearby services, such as shelter, food, employment resources, technology facilities, including, of course, Wi-Fi and charging station information. Internet access around the region remains a real problem, of course, and a challenge, but this will also drive new solutions and new innovations. People are increasingly accessing the internet through ever cheaper phones, and data prices continue to drop. And there are more and more programs around the region and around the world to extend the options for affordable internet access. In India, for example, at Google, we are working with Indian Railways and Railtel to expand Wi-Fi to 100 of the country's busiest stations before the end of this year. More than 10 million people pass through these stations every day. Internet availability is changing and changing quickly, but still perhaps not as fast as those in this room would like to see, particularly in terms of access. An internet for all relies on all being able to connect. This leads me to why forums like today's IGF meeting are so vital to ensuring the continued growth and positive impact of the internet. When we think about internet governance, it is crucial to ensure that the web remains universally open and global in reach, and that the decisions on its regulation and governance involve all the very many stakeholders who rely on it, shape it, are empowered by it, and collectively, in this decentralized way, own it. The IGF's greatest strength is its inclusive nature, a broad stakeholder approach which brings together industry experts, civil society representatives, academics, and government policymakers in an open, frank, and constructive dialogue. The internet is not for any one government or company or country or sector of society. It is for all, and governance policy should therefore promote the widest range of inclusive discussion and foster this dynamic interaction between all stakeholders involved. International and multi-stakeholder cooperation is vital for formulating effective and enabling policies that recognize this inherently global and cross-border nature of the web. This will help preserve the fundamental openness into the future, whilst also striking those careful and transparent balances between real and often competing public policy interests and objectives. In policy terms, we believe that we should be driving towards this flexible and enabling policy environment based on open, cross-border internet data flows so that the world and the whole world really can connect. And that it's backed up by a balanced and enabling intellectual property and copyright environment suitable for the digital age in which we work, in which we live, in which we play today. And that we take a big picture approach to policy formation that builds in the opportunities that this new technology offers us all, and not just the new challenges that it addresses. Most important of all, in the context of today's event, all stakeholders, be they governments, companies, or civil societies, need also to reach out to new users of the internet, particularly in the developing world and in the mobile-first and mobile-only world, to ensure that their decisions reflect the views and direction of travel of the full range of global participants and stakeholders, the full range of those interests and aspirations. Let me close by saying that it really is truly an honor to be here among people who care so passionately about the opportunities that this wonderful global technology platform can deliver, and who I know work really tirelessly to ensure that the potential becomes a reality and the challenges are thoughtfully addressed. Thank you for all that you do. I'm honored to be here, and I wish you very lively debates ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan Pointer. Thank you very much for your wonderful sharing. Thank you.